Hey, Steve Stine from GuitarZoom here. Thank you so much for joining me. Hopefully you've already watched video number 1, where we started developing the sounds of major and minor chords and learning to hear that. What we're going to be doing in this video to celebrate the release of Ear Training Made Easy 2.0, okay, my new updated ear training course. So we're going to be talking about trying to figure out songs using the 6th string as our palette. Now, not only learning how to hear major and minor sounds, but learning to hear what we call intervals. Now, right now in this video, I'm not going to go into great detail on intervals, but I do in the course. But really, they're distances between two different notes. And equally as important is not only hearing those distances, but hearing the direction, right? Hearing whether something moves up or moves down. Now, that should seem like an obvious thing, but that doesn't mean it's easy for people to do. Sometimes ear training is kind of tough. So what I like to do is I like to teach people to think about the 6th string from 0, which is E, all the way up to the 12th fret, which is E again. Now, in music, we only have 12 different notes. It's called the chromatic scale, okay? And so when we learn songs, regardless of, what style or anything like that, the chords that are in that song, okay, have to be between 0 and 12 on the 6th string in terms of pitch. Now, we know that chords can exist on the 5th string and the 4th string, and we have open chords and bar chords and power chords and all these different kinds of things. But if we're just looking for the sounds of the chords, not major or minor, but the root, right? The initial sound. Now, let me show you what I mean. I'm going to play a chord progression, and I'm going to have the camera shut off, okay? And as I play that, what I want you to start thinking about is not B or A or F or C or anything like that. What I want you to think about is whether you hear the sound going down or going up, okay? Or both, right? So you're just going to listen. So I'm going to shut the camera off right now, okay? Now I'm going to play a chord progression for you. Now, there's two things happening with that chord progression. Number one, we're going to hear some major and minor sounds, okay, which we talked about in the first video. But more importantly, in this video, what I want you to start thinking about is, does it sound like the chord is going higher or lower? So the first thing you have to do, even if you don't find it on your guitar, right, even if you're not finding it, you're driving in your car and you don't have your guitar with you, obviously, you listen to that first sound that you hear. And then what you do is you try and listen to the second sound and decide, does it go down or does it go up, right? Regardless of where it is on your guitar, that's a secondary step. The first step is you have to hear it. That's what ear training is all about. So again, the camera goes off. Here's the sound of the first chord. Here's the sound of the second chord. So you decide, does it sound like it goes up or down? Does it sound like it gets thinner, goes up, right? Gets higher in pitch, or does it sound like it gets meatier and it goes down a little bit, okay? Now again, the guitar is a really crazy instrument because we can play the same chord in multiple places on the guitar. But I want you to start trying to think about this a little bit, okay? So again, the camera goes off. Here's your first chord. Here's your second chord. Here's your third chord. Now, the trick is, and this is what I do when I'm listening to music, whether I'm, again, in my car or sitting around or whatever, is I start visualizing the movements, the motion that music is making, right? And right now, we haven't talked about music theory or anything, but those things are certainly in the Ear Training Made Easy 2.0. But what I'm doing is I'm just listening for movement. Is it going down? Is it going up? Right? And I start trying to visualize that on my fretboard in my brain. Now, I have what's called relative pitch. I don't have perfect pitch, so I can't just, hear a note on the piano and go, hey, that's a C sharp or that's a B flat. I can't do that. But what I can do is I can listen and hear whether a chord quality sounds major or minor, that sort of thing. And the second thing that I can do is I can decide whether or not the chord progression, whether it's in theory, which is what the third video is going to be, or whether just movement. Is it going down or is it going up? And I can start planning that out in my head. So when I get to my guitar, I can kind of place it where it needs to go. So in this little exercise that I'm showing you right now, the first thing I would do is I would start seeing this Here's my starting spot, right? This is my first chord, and I can hear it going down, and then I can hear it coming up. That's what I'm hearing. So it's starting, it's going down, it's coming up. Now it's going down far enough to where it can have, when it comes up, it's coming up in the middle of these other two chords. That's what I'm thinking in my head. So it's up here, it's going down a ways, and then it's coming up, because when it goes back to the original chord, it's got to come up a little bit further. That's what I'm hearing. Then what I do is I apply the first video that we talked about. Do I hear major or minor tonality? Or maybe it's a power chord and I don't hear that, and I want to be able to identify a power chord as well. So in the third video, what I want to do is I want to show you some basic theory ideas that you can use very simply. Again, I'm not going to get complicated with this, but something that you can use if you don't already know it. And again, we'll be talking about that in detail in Ear Training Made Easy 2.0. So watch for the next video, okay?